3, 2, 1.
今夜もミュージック君へのラッキー笑い合って抱き合って幸せにほらなれるように
7,
8.
9.
If the numbers you said are 3, 6, and 9, you deserve to be sued.
You know what?
Look,
So fucking...
we just got to get all these jokes out now at the start because we're not doing a seasonal this week, and I can't physically sit here and talk to y'all for an hour
You know what, Vindy? You
without just like...
Vindy, you know what, Vindy? You know what? If you don't stop trying to ruin my name because you're afraid of the fact that I'm a better friend than you, I will take you through legal channels because you are maliciously slandering me at this point. I don't have money right now, but I will find a way to sue you.
sad. Okay, what are we talking about next time? Oh, wait, it's my pick next time.
Yeah, you dumb bitch. What are we
So
talking
now-
about next time?
We'll get started on it.
It's a BNA. The
Oh,
trigger
Oh,
show.
shit, it's
we're
furry
watching
time.
Furry basketball.
It's
Oh, I
furry
yeah.
can't
time, boys. Let's
She's
go.
so hot. Look, we're gonna go from this episode, me being, coming over a sweet man, to the next
Can you
episode.
please,
I'm gonna
like,
be
talk like a
fucking
human
losing
being?
my mind over a hot lady, dude.
Can you,
I'm
like,
going
talk
full
like a
Cougar
human
the
being?
next
But what
2
if
weeks
there
for the
are
Weeb Club.
other hot ladies and also maybe hot furry men like Lugosi?
Oh my god!
I'm
Don't
turning
even
in my
start
resignation to
talking
the
me.
Weeb Club now, everybody, just
Well,
so you know.
you
it's
don't
going
have to
down.
worry about it because I'm going to the Our Anime podcast. I
Ah,
received
shit.
an offer.
Let's go. This is Vinny's last
leaving.
episode on the Weeb Club, guys. Thank you so much
Goodbye,
for
everyone.
fucking nothing. Leave.
So this time we read Monster. This is your guys' first time reading it, right?
God. Yes.
So Monster has been like on everybody's plan to watch and read forever because nobody shuts up about it. Yeah, and yeah.
So I have read it before. This was my second time reading it.
Well, also, I actually do want to compare this to other Urasawa manga, especially because I think it might be fair to end up reading other Urasawa manga. Which Urasawa manga have you read?
I have no idea.
And what?
I don't know if I
So-
have
Okay,
one.
so I'll tell you some of the ones he's done. He did Pluto. He
Just
did
cut
20th
in.
Century
Craftsdwarf was
Boys,
trying to talk.
He did Billy Bat. No, I know, but I'm just giving you an idea. Pluto, 20th Century Boys, and Billy Bat are 3 of the big ones you might have read.
Then there's Master Keaton, Happy, and Yawara, which Happy was only recently translated. Those are the 3 that I have not read. I have read Pluto twice. I have read 20th Century Boys twice.
Okay.
I've read Billy Bat as it was going. So I actually, like, for context, I read 20th Century Boys in like 2010, 2009, and I was like, do I like this as more than One Piece? Like, that was how much I loved the shit out of 20th Century Boys. I haven't read it in literally like over half a decade. But so I do. So yeah, Vindy's saying we might read more now. Urasawa, manga. Yeah,
because I want to reread all of his manga, and I think that like
same.
I think Billy Bat could make a really, really interesting episode. I
Yeah,
think
Billy
20th
Bat's probably
Century
like my
Boys
least
is
favorite
one I
of the
just wanna
ones
read.
that I've like
definitely
read.
is my least
Yeah,
favorite.
right.
as well.
So that one, but I also feel like we're more like I noticed a lot of shit during this read of Monster that I would not have noticed a decade ago when I first read it.
Well, I also think Billy Bat is interesting. Just to really quickly, like Billy Bat is about, is about being a creator and creating something, and so I think that could give us an interesting discussion, right?
Yeah, because we talk about art in general a lot. So
well, and also y'all make videos.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I do because I'm not as consistent with it, but
Hey, Craftsdwarf. I'm still waiting for Vindy to make a video. Have you ever seen a Vindy video? I haven't.
well, so I think that like there definitely is room for us to talk in that one, and I think 20th Century Boys is just so good that I would want to.
No, yeah, I definitely because Pluto and 20th Century Boys have both been on my favorites like list pretty much. So it's funny because I've gotten shit like, what, you don't like Monster as much as because I think I like Monster would be my third favorite with Billy Bat as my least favorite of the 4 I've read. But rereading it, like, even if that's still true, Monster is really good.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of insane to me how good Monster is.
So yeah, I guess, do we have any general things to talk about? Because I know there's a lot of spoilery stuff, but,
There's a lot. I mean, so I do want to say that, like, Urasawa writes thrillers, right? Like, I think that's what he's best at, is writing these, like, dramatic thrillers where there's, like, a lot of these moving pieces all kind of chasing, if not the exact... Like, it's interesting. I think Monster does something really well where there's a bunch of people essentially chasing the same goal, but they all don't realize they're chasing the same goal until everything kind of wraps up, right?
Yeah, well, there'll be moments when someone will be like, oh, all these different things that seem disconnected, they are actually connected because the same person is behind them. And that'll happen throughout the manga. And in general, yeah, it's just really, like, it is very gripping. And, like, well, see, I'm curious about what you guys think because of the mystery elements, because I had already read the series, and so I knew some things going in, like, that, recontextualize how I thought about some things and just like knowing some of the big twists already and seeing the foreshadowing towards them, so I had a bit of a different experience reading it than even my first time through. So,
right. Well, but, I think that this image is what Urasawa manga is, essentially.
Oh no, especially in Billy Bat, he loves conspiracy theories.
Oh, he gets so wild. Look, here's all I have to say about Billy Bat. Adolf Hitler created Mickey Mouse to destroy the Jewish people. That's what Billy Bat's about. But yeah, I think that, like, that kind of thriller, and I think that something that Urasawa is really, really good at, actually, is having, like, these multiple moments where, like, it climaxes, and, like, you'll have, like, these, I don't want to call them arcs because it doesn't feel like anything wraps up, but, like, there's a moment where everything comes to a head and it just doesn't, like, complete the story, and then it backs off, and then it comes to a head again, and then backs off. And that kind of, I think that kind of pacing and the way he, like, writes the story, at least for me, it keeps me way more invested. Because he's always so good at, like, for example, all I'll say is the library scene is a great example of all the stuff's coming to a head, all these characters meet, and then it backs off, and it slows down a little bit. But the way it does it keeps me so invested because it's like, oh my god, they're so close. That you're just like, it's I like it so much.
And well, one thing I wanted to point out is that because I'd read it before, and obviously what stuck out to me a lot was the big stuff. But rereading it, one thing that really stuck out to me a lot as well was the more episodic stuff, almost like even in like the first volumes. Like there's one chapter early on where the main character runs into a former military guy and a girl whose mother he killed, and like you just get this one chapter and. But then a lot of these characters also come back and recur, and so I just like the way that it uses, all these little like a chapter will start with this character you've never seen before, and it'll somehow work its way into the main plot while also like contrasting with various things thematically or feeding into these ideas, and it's just a really gripping. Like it's neat to see everything come together. It's there were times when I'm like, I want to read more, but as I started reading this like almost 2 weeks ago, but like it's just it's a really solid manga. It's really well written.
Yeah, I think that like, and that's again outside of. I will say I don't agree on this with Billy Bat. I would have to reread it to know for sure. I think that he's very good at these like tightly interwoven stories where there's a lot of moving pieces. And I think that like he does a good job at kind of having them all move. It feels like everyone's moving at the same pace, right? And everyone kind of comes to their final conclusions and the same levels of conclusions at kind of the same time,
Yeah, but from different ways, which is also I especially noticed that with 20th Century Boys though, but it's still true of Monster because it's also funny reading a lot of stuff like you'll notice trends like Hitler and Jesus come up in this manga and they come in Billy Bat, and then there's a character who's comparable to both of them in 20th Century Boys, so it's like you see like you definitely like that's it it is interesting.
The quest in this manga with like what Tenma's trying to do in this manga is kind of similar to what the main characters are trying to do in 20th Century Boys, right? Where there's like someone that they have to defeat that is like
and they're trying to find
plane
them,
of like existence than a normal person, and so they're kind of like screwed. Like he definitely has like the kind of stories he likes to write, but I think that all of his things feel different, and I think that. I think you get this more with Billy Bat and 20th Century Boys. He has things that differentiate him and that, like, even thematically make him different. Like, 20th Century Boys is a lot about music, and music takes a very large role. in it. And I think that, Billy Bat is a lot about art, and creation is a large part of Billy Bat.
Yeah, and like, cause yeah, as far as there's definitely a trends in his stuff, and another thing that I have to specify that I think is amazing about his artwork, which is both like it's fairly real, compared to quote unquote typical anime style, it's more grounded and realistic in a sense, like, but he's able to make so many fucking distinct characters, like,
yeah,
random background nameless dudes are still like super distinct, and I can't, like, having read Monster and Pluto and 20th Century Boys and Belly Bat, I can't think of characters who look kind of alike at all. Like,
across
it's kind of amazing.
Have 20, 30 characters that matter.
Monster has a shitload of characters, and like not even and like I said, not even just the name ones, the background ones still, like, it's kind of amazing how he's able to just continually make so many distinct character designs. And
there's, I think something he does that's really interesting that I always notice immediately in Urasawa work is it's a common theme. It's less so in 20th Century Boys because 20th Century Boys squarely takes place in Japan. But in Monster and in Billy Bat, you have Japanese main characters, but also it's taking place outside of Japan. So there are Japanese characters and there's non-Japanese characters. And he does a really good job at, like, distinguishing, like, this is a character, this person's from Europe, this person's from Asia. At a glance, you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that, people like to say, oh, well, all fucking anime characters look white or whatever. And, like, obviously that's a misunderstanding of the anime art style and the way that the anime art style
but because Naoki Urasawa kind of moves away from that anime art style, he's able to make his characters very distinct, and, like, at least, you can tell who's, like he even draws them some, like, there's a character, I think it's not a spoiler, Nino's Aikido instructor, or I think it was,
yeah,
who just looks like a racist Japanese stereotype, kind of, like, he draws on some of those, like, elements, but he also, like, he looks distinctly Asian for it, and there's other characters who are Asian who still look Asian, but don't draw on those stereotypes. Like, he just has a lot of variety to his art style, and which is interesting considering it is, like, Naoki Urasawa, like, I think I've said this before, but, like, two of my favorite manga authors are Fukumoto and Naoki Urasawa because they've done multiple great manga,
Yeah. No, I agree. I also think something else when we're talking about, when we talk about Urasawa and the way he does his art, he's so good at, like, the way he'll put like, reaction faces of his characters. Like, he'll put, like, you'll have a page where it's a revelation, and then he'll show 5 panels of characters reacting to it, and the way he like, composes his scenes to where you really get this, like, he creates tension not only through the writing but through the art and through the panel setup in a way that I think is, like, really powerful and super fucking good.
He's also really good with the page turn. Like, you just turn the page and boom, something shocking. And so basically he's a really good manga author, and yeah, I'm looking forward to rereading his stuff. Because I don't think I've touched anything Urasawa since Billy Bat ended, which was, like, what, 2016, 2017? Like, a few years ago. But,
what I love about it is, yeah, it's so much more than just, like, if he was, like, it's more than just, oh, yeah, he's good, he's a good writer, which I would say that he's a great fucking writer.
Yeah.
But it's that he's also this just very technically proficient mangaka who does a lot with manga to help accentuate his story. And that's why I think it's so interesting that Monster is the only one, well, maybe Pluto, actually, I don't know. But, like, 20th Century Boys and Billy Bat don't have anime adaptations. So
no, Pluto is going to have an anime adaptation, but not yet. But yeah, no, 20th Century Boys has a film trilogy which adapts each of the 3 parts into a film each. So I don't that doesn't sound like it sounds like it's gonna have to cut a lot. And Billy Bat, no.
Well, and that's what I think is interesting is that, like, so most of the people who have experienced outside of maybe Monster, the Urasawa stuff, have to see the manga as he does it.
Oh, actually, no. So Yawara and Master Keaton do have anime adaptations. I don't think they're complete, but there are anime for them, which is, of course, but they're also, I don't think they're full adaptations of the manga, and I don't know for sure. And obviously, the manga for either of them are not translated, so not fully translated. They're partly translated, and some of them are still getting chapters every so often, but they're not done yet. So. What? Do you have anything to say before I move on to spoilers? Aside from that, you hate Monster and you never want to read another.
Monster,
And you hate
sucks.
Mal and
It's
anything
terrible.
that Mal likes. You hate
Mal.
Ava,
Listen, Monster would have
Galaxy.
been good if it had more lollies. I'm just kidding. Look, listen, Monster's good. It was definitely good. It was a really easy read for me. Which it's kind of funny that a lot of people like I've seen try to like talk about like I'm not saying it's not complex, but I don't understand how anybody would have a hard time following it because it was actually really easy for me to follow.
No. This one, and maybe I'll feel differently on other Urasawa manga. I would say that there's one that is so complex and convoluted that I don't believe that anyone understands what it's actually saying.
We might talk about it in a future episode.
Crafts is laughing.
I know
because he knows
exactly
I'm
which
right.
one you're fucking
and
talking
you know
about.
I'm right.
Well, I'm just gonna say that when I read it over the course of 5 years and was frustrated because I read it over the course of 5 years and wanted to kind of like part of me was like I should reread this, but the other part of me was like I just read it. Why should I have to reread it?
Wow.
You know, and I also think I'm just smarter than I was then, and you might be smarter than you when you first read Billy Bat too. You know, so
Oh, I
maybe
definitely am. Are you kidding me?
maybe there's some Giga Brain shit we haven't realized about it. You know, because like he is a good writer, so what happened, so to speak. So but
no, that makes sense. And it is one that I am interested in, but
yeah, like now that we started with like, well, the other I want to say something about because what said following along with it, the anime is like 70 episodes long.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm kind of actually really glad that I didn't watch it because I'm like, it was definitely better made for like. For better structure for
yeah, like I know some people say like it feels like because it takes place over years, so like watching a long anime makes it feel like it takes place over a longer time, but like I'd rather just read the 18 volumes and then like watch literally anything else in that same amount of time, just because like it's
a super easy read. Like I was like
now it's like yeah, I'm sure it's a fine anime, but I'd have no reason to watch it because it's 18 volumes. I'm just going to read it. Like I'm sure even if it's a good adaptation, it's just like there's not there. I don't see there being anything for me.
No, but you see Craftsdwarf.
But
manga's an inferior medium.
Oh, very sad, Alexander.
Oh.
But like as far as people getting lost, if you're watching a 70 episode anime. Instead of like you guys read this one, what 2, 3, like what 2 days?
I read it. Yeah, I read it in 3 days, and I read about a third of it every day.
Yeah.
So I was reading it. I was reading like 6 volumes a day, so I was getting through most of it.
So I mean, you could do that with the anime if you do nothing else.
Well, like let's see, because I don't want to do this math off the top of my head. So just I think it's like 75 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 75 times 24. It's 1,800 minutes. So... Oh, wait, shit. No, I'm retarded. Fuck, I forgot how math works. Yeah, it's 30 hours. So, I don't blame someone for getting confused over 30 hours of runtime, just because, like, that's so much time, and there's so much going on, that if it's at this slower pace where it takes 70 episodes... you will forget things that have happened, Like, that's just a fact of how that kind of shit works.
Right, yeah. So, I just want to specify, like, as far as, like, yeah, the idea of people getting lost, it makes sense if it's the anime, because there's just, like, if you're watching it over the course of a month instead of a week, because assuming a more natural reading pace, like, I read over 2 weeks, because I limited myself to, like, 2 volumes a day and then didn't read it for some days, because I had other stuff going on. How did you do that?
There was a point. So
well, that's the thing. I've already read it. Like it's not like sense. I already know. I know exactly how it ends. I know all the like the big twists. I wasn't like gripped by curiosity and like because if it was my first time reading, I probably couldn't stop.
There was a point where I was like, I just have to finish this right now. I can't stop.
I'm too far in. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think it's good about that. But anyway, so it sounds like we're about ready to move on to spoilers, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, part of the problem is, like, because we're talking about this thriller with a lot of, like, moving parts and so much of it is based in these plot twists and what's going on, we have to talk about spoilers early on for most of it. So,
yeah.
like, if you haven't read Monster, I think we would all recommend it.
And I think, like, we haven't even talked about the characters or anything. I think it's best to just go in blind, because then, there's more surprises for you, I think.
Yeah, honestly, going in blind might be... Because I basically went in blind because I knew nothing about Monster.
Same. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I knew what the main character looked like, but I knew nothing else about the story.
However, this manga is bad because there's no lollies, so, I can't really recommend it.
Well, there's a hot, 19-year-old, so it's close enough.
You know what, Vindy? You got a goddamn point.
Yes, sir!
Alright, spoiler time, let's go.
Spoilers.
So,
Spoilers.
Vindy, did you like that when the hot 19-year-old turned out to be Johan the whole time?
No, that's not true. That's not how it works. First of all, let's just get this out of the way.
Well, kind of, but also no. It's complicated.
If you didn't realize from the first time you saw that welcome back that was Johan and not Nina, you're dumb. Because the manga made it very clear that the entire time they were children, Johan made a very certain face and only one expression, and Nina was the emotive one. And in that welcome back, it was Johan's expression, not Nina's.
Vindy, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're bullshitting me. I don't read.
Okay. I mean, am I wrong?
Listen, Vindy, here's the thing.
Because, that was one where, I could see someone's mind being blown by it, but while I was reading, the first time I was like, oh, okay, this is what happened. And then I just kept reading, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then when that was revealed, I was like, yeah, makes sense.
Vindy, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. You're stupid. All right? That's the first thing. You, listen. You have to be confused by it, because if you're not confused by it, I don't know. It was the most easy. It was a lot of the things that they were revealing and shit was kind of I don't think I was surprised once. I was just kind of
I think that the best moment for me was in terms of surprises was probably okay. Well, there were surprises with the direction the plot took. I would say that a lot of the times what Johan was trying to do. That's how you pronounce it, right, Johan?
Yeah.
Sure.
Johan.
I think, yeah, that is, okay, I'm
Johan
pretty
Liebert.
sure.
Yeah, Johan Liebert.
Well, yeah, because I know it's Johann Sebastian Bach, so I was pretty sure that's how so a lot of, I think, Johann's, his actions surprised me. There were times where, for example, with, I can't remember his name, the old guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I think I know where you're going with
thought he was going to do something different in that plot point than what he did.
Are you talking about when Carl was talking to Johan and explaining his past, and he
yes.
and he gave Johan the rabbit foot, and no, that I was honestly thinking the same thing, and I'd read the manga before, oh shit, Johan's gonna pretend to be the son, but instead he helped them get closer, and it's wait, hold on, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. You're supposed to be the bad guy.
Right, there were moments where I think what Johan was doing definitely did surprise me, and definitely made me kind of stop for a second and be hold on, what's his actual, what is this he trying to do, and that was, I would say, the time where I would consistently be oh shit, here's a spread, right, that I'm sure we all fucking, I was oh my god.
No, Johan definitely has presence. He's pretty effective as a main antagonist for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's so unpredictable. And I'm sure reading it back, I would be able to once I know what his full goal is, I could see the path there and understand why he did everything he did. But I think if you're reading it and you don't know what he's trying to do and what his end goal is, because that is kind of this large hidden, sure, it kind of tells you with the storybooks, but I think you don't get a full, you get the idea of what he's trying to do, but you don't have the full grasp on what he's the actual thing he's trying to do, right? And I think once you reach that, I'm sure I could understand every decision he made, but as you're reading it, he's so unpredictable with what he's gonna do. Yeah, well,
that is definitely true, but there is also, there's kind of a turning point for him where when he first rereads the storybook, in the college, and he screams, because that's when he sort of he goes to the prostitute lady and he's my whole life says a lot, that's when he remembered that he didn't actually experience any of the things that he thought he did, so, and that's part of the reason he changes a bit, but stuff like that, yeah, so, but yeah, this would all make more sense going back again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's part of what makes it so interesting is that I was like constantly guessing at like what's Johan gonna do? What's his plan? And that made it so much more of an engaging read because you're following it the same as, you know, Tenma is, where you're like, okay, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I'm just following what he's doing. And I think that works so well for the story. But I think that, yeah, a lot of like the actual plot points in terms of the twists, you can kind of see coming if you're paying attention.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember my initial reactions to some of them. Like, I mean, some of them still, like, got me again, but it was more because, like, even if you see it coming, like, there's, like, Roberto just fucking shows up, and it's like, fuck. Like, because even if you, like, it's not even
that
about...
got me. I was not expecting that, actually.
Oh, that's right, yeah, because I didn't actually remember if he... Well, because I figured, like, him dying would be, like... Because, you know, obviously, whether Tenma will kill or not is a major thing. So, like, I kind of... When he shot Roberto in the library, I was like, you know, I don't think Roberto would die, because that's obviously, like, a huge... you know, thing with Tenma's character, so for it to just happen like that, you know, and they came back.
I was definitely relieved when he was alive, yeah.
Well, see, in that way, yeah, but also, like, there's also sort of, like, fuck when he's alive, because he's the antagonist, so it's like, and that was the reaction I would, even when he should have, like, later after having, like, because he just pop in unexpectedly, and there's just, like, this fuck moment of, like, you know, this bad guy who's now gonna fuck things, because not every, like when he first got with, like, Ava, you know, she didn't know he's or no, not Ava, I'm thinking of a different moment. No, or no, I guess that was one instance, but because he's not like the one everyone's looking for, like Johan, so you know, he's able to just, and of course Johan does that too, but just not the sort of dramatic irony, I guess, where we know that these are bad people, but not everyone knows, so.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, really, really good stuff with that, and I think that, like, yeah, a lot of the actual plot points are handled so well, and something Urasawa does in his other manga that I think it also varies, right, depending on the manga, and something I loved in this is that, like, Tenma's the main character the whole time.
Yes.
Right? And I do have a problem with it, more so in Billy Bat than in 20th Century Boys, because I think in 20th Century Boys it's a little bit more fair, but he loves at that halfway climax. So in Monster, if you've read that, what the halfway climax would be is the library scene.
And if this was one of his later manga, Tenma would have died and Nina would become the main character or something. Yeah, or there would have been a time skip and it would have been Dieter or something, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the kid.
Tenma's dead. Yeah, and then it's Dieter or Nina who's the main character, right? It would probably make more sense if it was Dieter with how he likes to do his stories.
Yeah.
And then Dieter's the main character. And then either he's actually dead or we just find out Tenma's alive, but he's not doing anything at that point.
Right. But that's not what happened. Well, I guess speaking of Tenma, he's a good boy. He's a good Dr. Man.
I fucking love Tenma. He's so good.
He's just like this good person who goes around, like, he'll like stop what the fuck he's doing, just like, well, this person needs help and help the fuck out of them. And like I love how everyone like all the people, like when he's in prison, a bunch of people like gather money to try and like get the lawyer, and they're just...
when he gets into prison and everyone is like collectively and that's again what I love about Urasawa is I think he makes, especially his fucking main characters, are so goddamn likable, and I just want them to be happy, and they're thrust into these situations where they cannot be happy, and so I want the plot to be resolved so that my character can be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so watching Tenma, and he's always doing the right thing, and he embodies what a doctor should be, where he wants to save people and help people. And just watching that play out, I fucking love, because, you know, there's when he's at the clinic with the like 17-year-old Korean girl, or Vietnamese girl, who like doesn't know what she's doing, and he's helping her and telling her, and like the thing he says, what about like follow the light or whatever, is so good. And then as you mentioned, when he gets caught and he's put in jail, and everyone that he's met throughout this story, who he's proven to them his innocence through just being a good person, is trying to get together to do whatever they can to save him, is so fucking good.
And then, and another moment I thought of was with the fucking psychologist who was taking video, recordings of all the people he was talking to. And, he was like, oh, Tenma saw me cheating, but then it turns out Tenma was cheating too. And it becomes, this recurring aid to Tenma. And he's just and there's a lot of good moments. One of the two moments that made me teary-eyed was with the shooter, the guy who taught him to shoot, and the little girl, and how they, Tenma being there kind of got them closer together, and that just caught me off guard completely when they were holding hands after Tenma left, and they were protecting him, and I didn't see it come. I got tears in my eyes.
I wonder if the other moment that got you teary-eyed is the moment that fucking broke me. That made me bawl like a fucking baby.
So I want to ask.
But to talk about that, we need to talk about a different man entirely.
Well, first I want to ask, what do you?
Exactly.
Do you have anything to say about the characters, or are you just going to be dead inside?
Look.
Dude, he's getting sued. He's busy with more important things.
Look, listen. My name is Brian. Okay, hold on. My name is Brian Johnson. I live in Texas. Okay, I live in Texas, and I am Caucasian. You can call me at 210-732-1981 and send all inquiries to my email, callatelaboca@gmail.com. Anyway, like I was saying, look, I think my thing is just it's good, right? I think my entire thing is just, it's just not. I think by this time in the Weeb Club, or at least for me talking, people have a general understanding of the kind of story that appeals to me or doesn't.
There's not enough girls being gay for you.
You're right. God damn it. No. So it's there's a lot of moments in the manga that I remember liking a lot. Anything with a lot of the shit with Nina was really fucking good. Cause there's.
Would you say Nina's your favorite character?
Nina and Tenma, and look, what character I kind of like a lot, other than Grimmer, who will we will go
we'll get to him. About Grimmer.
Who
but
I
like
like a lot? Him. The motherfucking Rick and Morty fan who accesses the database of his fucking brain all the time.
Detective,
Lunga, whatever. How the hell?
No, he had a fucking moment that almost had me crying. He's really good. I agree.
There's a lot of the theme of this story, a lot of what is the idea that either it's everybody has a monster inside themselves, but then they're an ongoing thing that Tenma deals with is that he thinks that he made a mistake, right? By him believing that all human lives are equal, he saved a monster because he thinks that he said, should I have saved his life? But ultimately, he learns that he wasn't exactly wrong in saving Johan's life.
Yeah, which is why I love that he saves Johan's life after Johan gets shot again.
No,
right?
Well, one of the things that I really liked was at the end, which we'll talk about later. I want you to talk about Grim or whatever, because I want to talk about the one thing I think is interesting about it. That because Monster really likes to take these people that you thought were really bad, and constantly show that all of them have some level of good in them.
Yeah, well, another thing we're going to talk about the themes of Monster that I thought was super fucking interesting, that kept popping up, is this idea of people putting either their work or something above their family, right?
Okay, I just want to say this is funny. We all had different major takeaways from it. So
well, this wasn't my major takeaway from the story. But this is something that I think kept coming up enough that I think it needs to be talked about in a discussion of the series. Which is the idea of, we see so many characters, right? There's the cop who Johan pushes off a building that was, finally getting off the booze and was starting to reconnect with his family.
Yeah.
There's Lung, as you mentioned, or Lugne, or however the fuck you pronounce it.
Who his family
Rick and Morty
left him
65.
because he was obsessed with his Tenma hunt.
There was the small doctor from that village that Tenma helped. That wouldn't talk to the girl he liked because he was so obsessed with his work. Grimmer was fucked by his upbringing and by his whatever that you call Kinderheim 511, and couldn't love his family, and that caused it to break down. Right? There are so many. Even Tenma lost his fiance because he was so into what he considered a doctor to be that he ruined his chance with his fiance, right? There's so many people throughout Monster that were like constantly not abandoning their family, but they were putting their work or what they felt their duty was. And I think that idea of like having a duty, having a personal sense of this is what I have to do, this is what's driving me, is a large part of Monster, right? Every character, and it's not because in Monster it's more than just a motivation for doing what they're doing. It's that all these characters we see have this profound sense of duty to the point where they are willing to forego everything in their life to chase what they think is the most important to them. At the cost of their health, their family, their fucking, the way people see them, right? They will escape from prison and go on the run from the law for like 4 years to achieve their goal. And that's like such an interesting thing about the way Monster is like talking about like, you know, because you're talking about the monster inside of you, and it's like the monster inside of you can relate to that duty. And if your duty isn't good or you're not, making sure that your duty is just, then yeah, like you will turn into a monster as you viciously chase this thing that you feel like you have to do.
Well, there's also like the fact that Johan, the way he breaks people isn't like anything except just talking to them about what they really are and being like, it's like, isn't this like with that little boy, he sent him into a town, like into the fucking town, and then like boy was about to jump off a fucking bridge because all he said was, your mom doesn't love you. Here, I'll prove it to you, right? Nobody wants you. Nobody right? And what's funny is that like there's like Tenma's always there to like show like do the opposite of that, showing that you are loved, you are like all the characters on the side of good are the ones that come back and like you are loved, you are needed, right? And there's always this thing where each of these characters constantly have to like remind each other of that. And Tenma goes through like the most shit throughout this entire story.
Oh
like,
my
holy
god,
shit.
poor fucking Tenma. But also, what I love is that Tenma goes through shit and takes that like negative energy and turns it positive. He's constantly turning all these negative things that are happening around, right? He's saving people, and he's not just saving them. He's doing like multiple jobs of a doctor, right? He's not just physically saving them, but like with Dieter, and then he does it again with the little boy that Johan tries to turn later on, where he says almost the exact same thing about, tomorrow there will be light. Same with the fucking girl from the Vietnamese girl, right? Like he's constantly talking about like this light and the idea that like, there is a tomorrow and that tomorrow will be good, and to not get like held up on the darkness, and what's going on that upsets you, but to focus on, okay, well, sure. Okay, you know what? Now we're just talking, now you're going to make me start talking about Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
and
no,
how
that's not what I wanted.
Kingdom
That's not
Hearts
what I wanted. That's
are
not what I
both
wanted.
Kino,
Please no.
because I know, without a doubt, that Kingdom Hearts is light.
Never mind, I don't want to be on this podcast anymore. I want to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
But, yeah, no, so I think that there is, like, this level of, I don't know, like, those ideas of Monster is so good. So
no, I think Monster has a lot of good ideas. Yeah. Or should we talk about Grimmer?
No, because I want to hear what your major takeaway is. Unless you feel like we need to talk about Grimmer.
This is like, so you notice that, well, because there's, what was the name of hold on. I always forget his name. Suk, the cop.
Oh, I love Suk.
Yes. So, well, because they were both Suk and Tenma were both people who Johan took an interest in, and the one thing I was noticing about, like, I guess going into the monster, and how I'd frame it, with the monster inside of you, is something that brings out the monster inside of people is authority, and especially, or like what happens with Tenma that gets him screwed over is he goes against authority for his ideals, his duty. And that gets him, but so Johan takes an interest in that and rewards him and then fucks him over, and it's the same thing with Suk later. So I guess one thing I always pick up is how sort of like systemic, basically like
systemic
adhering
oppression
to a faulty system to the, what was that?
It's a systemic oppression.
Yeah, basically. Well, cause like, there's the one, I think it was during the Suk stuff where there was, it was after Tenma got arrested, and they were talking about how they just want a scapegoat, I think, and they like the one guy compared it to like he says just looking for a scapegoat, just to not to solve any issues, but to sort of just have the crime be solved more or less. Is just like the character compares it to like, oh, this again, like, he compares it to the Nazi Germany and just that sort of thing, which of course comes up with Johan, who he's this person like who like what Kinderheim was made to make people who were obedient and would follow orders. Like, it's basically that, just following these systems senselessly is something that brings the monster out of people, both the authorities and the people who are being like forced to conform to these systems. And that was the idea I was noticing.
Right. Well, like also like Tenma would have become a monster if he had not just tried to save everyone and instead followed the
right. And that's important.
Hierarchy.
And as far as creating monsters, because what Johan's backstory that we get in the last chapter is his mom bowed to an authority and made a choice that she should have fought against, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, that was what fucked up Johan and made him think that the world didn't want him. Maybe no one wanted him. And like, because she bowed to this authority and she gave up one child and not tried to defend both of them. And, so that's why, Johan takes an interest in people who do resist authority in that way. And,
right.
So it's like, so that was probably one thing I noticed because I did know what happened in the end and what like Johan's, a lot of what his deal was. But, so this is why I say Monsters, like, it's a really interesting and well-told story because, like I said, we all had these, like, different takeaways from it.
Well, I think they're all kind of, like, tied to the same thing, really.
Yeah,
they are, but that's good thematic storytelling is that you have multiple ideas who are, like, they're kind of, like, spiderweb throughout the story,
I don't think so. I think Naruto abandoned its theme of hard work for each time.
Fuck you.
Another thing that we could talk about with Monster is the idea of, with Johan and his goal of, like, if there's no one who knows me, then I'm, like, not a real person, but that's when I can finally... Because all these people know him by these different names. If there's no one else alive who knows him... Because, like, the idea of having your name and having your sense of identity is also important in Monster. And this idea of, like, if Johan kills everyone who knows him... he can finally exist as himself. Yeah. And his name is finally valid because nobody knows him.
Instead of what everybody else like wants him to be.
Which is why he finally gets up when he learns what his real name was supposed to be at the end. It's that he was sleeping until he heard what his real name was, and that challenged his preconceived sense of self, and now he got up.
I can't believe Urasawa ripped off Taikubo.
Right? Like, it's so good.
Shut the fuck up, what?
I'm just ignoring him. I don't care.
Suck my ass, dude. I'm trying to lighten up. You always complain about fucking big brain shit, right?
It's funny. No, that's Vindy.
It's different when I'm the big brained man, and I just want to talk about
Vindy, you're never the big brained man.
You know what?
You're not Johan. You're more...
This is why I'm going to the R Anime podcast.
I know. That's why you're not big brained. Oh. One thing I wanted to point out I forgot was interesting is that the fact that Dieter is like a character, it's like a main thing throughout these from the moment he's introduced. He's like following Tenma around, and they constantly cut back to him, always saying that I want to be with Tenma, right? That's like a constant thing that's happening. Like, I always thought that was interesting that he brought him along on this journey of I'm gonna kill Super Hitler, right? That's what they wanted him to be. They wanted him to be Super Hitler.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted. Because Johan is like, if you want to like, because people misunderstand what nihilism is, like they generally attribute it to what like someone who's existentialist believes, where it's like Johan's a good example of an actual like nihilist because he just
thinks
destruction
the only thing they all
doesn't
share is
believe
death. Yeah,
exactly
and
right.
He thinks that like nothing matters, so just die.
Yeah, and I thought that was
if you hate yourself, you should just die. Explaining the end of Monster.
But no, well, because I did think it's interesting that like Johan, he's not only a person without a name, but he's also a person who like was mistaken. Like the one who's everyone's really looking for is Nina, because she's the person who they're actually who they just thought she was Johan the whole time. Like. And so, like, everyone is chasing Johan for things he didn't do. And, he's, and even before he found the storybook again, he's doing things that because he believed something happened to him when it didn't.
Well, it's literally
And-
I don't know
highlighted.
if
It's
that's true because like Nina wasn't the one who went into Kinderheim 511, and a lot of them are chasing him for what he did there, right?
it depends on what they're chasing him for. Because another thing that they
Right.
they like
Oh
basically
no, that's what I mean. I meant like the neo-Nazis and the bad guys, basically the people who
Were the
wanted him to be
neo-Nazis
super Hitler.
chasing him for,
Yeah,
but they were chasing him because of the revolution he started at Kinderheim 511.
but some of them
Which
were
Johan did.
at
not
least
Nina.
half of them were after him because of what happened at
Some of them were after him because of the Red Rose Mansion, but it wasn't the baby and like that group or like the people he was.
I must
with.
have mixed up some incidents from like my like
at
thinking
least
about.
it was like half and half.
Okay,
It was
yeah.
like half and half from what I understand. Also, something else is interesting is that they literally like foreshadowed the fuck out of the fact that that was Nina when Johan literally like dresses up as Nina for an entire ass volume.
Yeah.
Like it's super like blatant with it too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hide it at all, and that's what I was saying. Is like I never once, like from the first moment I saw that, I was like, oh, that's Johan dressed as Nina. Didn't think that was Nina.
Yeah, like
because
my
it's
dick wasn't hard when I saw her, so like that's.
Okay, shut up.
See, for me, I knew that there was a point when he dressed up as Nina. I just didn't remember when it was. So when she showed up around the baby time, what the fuck? When the baby was a thing, and she was looking kind of hot in her, she was trying to look like more like a lady of the night kind of thing. I was like, okay, that's Nina, right, and not Johan.
Uh-oh.
Like,
Well, I think that reminds me of like, okay, there's the what is it? Like there are some good moments where when they're in Prague, it just shows Nina, and you don't know, is this Nina or is this Johan until you see Dieter with Nina, which is also a good way of the series showing Nina isn't the same as Johan because she's making these connections with other people. She's relying on other people, and she has other people with her, right? Whereas Johan is, alone and only servicing his own gains.
yeah. It sounds like it's time to talk about Grimmer finally, Vindy.
I mean, I wanted to talk about how much I jacked off to Nina. What?
All right, so Grimmer is a man who exists, and Grimmer is, I don't know. We'll talk about it later, but I don't know if Monster would be on my manga 4x4. I think it's very close for me. But Grimmer would be on a character bingo I would do. Easily. I fucking love this man. And I knew I would love him because I had anyone who knew me, who knows what I like in characters, who'd read Monster, tell me, oh, when you read Monster, you're gonna love Grimmer. And I didn't know who this man was, but I was like, okay, sure, maybe I'll love Grimmer. And I just kept reading, right? I kept, fucking going. And then all of a sudden, I got to the point where Grimmer showed up. And I was like, okay. And then I got to the end of the manga, and it's like, okay, Grimmer's fucking so insanely goated. It's unreal. He's so good.
See, the moment that got me teary-eyed wasn't his death, but it was the moment where he was crying with the kid who was about to jump off the bridge. That was the second moment that got me teary-eyed, because when he's saying and then like he's like, Tenma, what expression do I have on my face? And he's like, you're crying. And it's like
that part, I was so close. Because I think what's so interesting about Grimmer is this idea that like he thinks he's emotionless, right? He thinks Kinderheim 511 took all his emotions, but that's not true. Because he's upset from the moment we see him. And he's legitimately upset, not just pretending to be upset. Right? He doesn't like that he turns into the mighty, whatever.
the Great Steiner, yeah.
The Great Steiner, yeah.
You couldn't even get the adjective right, homie. Jeez.
He doesn't
No, it's Magnificent Steiner.
The Magnificent Steiner, sorry. He doesn't like that it turns
Unlucky.
into the Magnificent Steiner. He gets upset about that, right? Like, Grimmer is already someone who has these emotions. He's just hiding his emotions behind the Magnificent Steiner. And that's why I love the moment where he's like, I didn't turn into the Magnificent Steiner. I let my rage take over. He finally became a person again, as opposed to being someone who hid his emotions behind this alternate persona. And I mean, I think it's fair to say these 2 pages in a row made me fucking bawl. Like, I was a fucking mess. It was so good.
No, that was definitely great. Grimmer is a good boy.
He's such a good boy. And I love that he's like, because of what happened to him as a child, he cares so much about other children and wanting to help them to kind of like make up for it. I love the way he is when he finally meets whatever the fuck his name is. I can't remember right now. The guy who wrote the books. And he's like, no, you will fucking admit to your crimes. You will tell everyone what you did. And I'm not letting you die until you do. It's so good. I fucking love him. I don't know. He's so good. I mean, I think he's easily my favorite character in it.
Yeah. That like, see, hearing you talk about him, it's like, I'd be surprised if he wasn't.
Not even close. He's so fucking good. I love him. He's almost everything I like in a character. Fucking great.
And what? Because I was just thinking about how like he's kind of similar to Lunge in a couple ways, like how they're both like kind of emotionless. And
Is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know. I have no idea. He's German. I don't fucking know how to pronounce German. We're weebs. We're not
Germans. They're not real people.
It's Wolfgang Grimmer, isn't it?
No, the
oh my
detective.
fucking god.
Oh, sorry. I fucking.
Yeah,
my brain,
well, because like
sometimes my brain just.
Him and Grimmer both like don't show emotions, like, or like Grimmer shows fake emotions, like, and then they both also like what kind of saves them is that they both Lunge specifically he stops being just objective and like he says something about like he starts leaning in more into the subjective, and that's when he sort of like comes to connect everything better, because like as this sort of robot he was he's being a monster. He's falling into these systems, or he's doing what might create a monster and just falling into systems. But it's not until he, breaks out of that and then just starts doing things on his own and eventually finds the truth that he's like, he's good. Yeah. I think I had a thought there, but maybe I lost it. I don't know.
Well, I love when like Grimmer and Lunge are working together in those last few volumes, because it's another example of the way Urasawa writes, where when Lunge first meets Grimmer, he should not want to work with him at all because Grimmer is on the same side as Tenma.
Yeah.
But he doesn't understand yet, like Lunge doesn't, exactly everything going on, but he's on the right side. He's on the side of justice, on the side of doing good. So he has to learn, like, and then by the time he learns that, and I love that it's because of his partnership with Grimmer that he ends up reaching the conclusion. And the moment where Lunge apologizes to Tenma and says, like, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
It was really interesting watching Lunge, right, the entire time, because it takes him that entire time for him to finally just be like, I'm being fucking dipshit.
Because, there's a great moment where Tenma even talks to him and says, you think the analysis you're doing in your head is objective, but it's not, because you're going off of your remembered information, off of what the information is objectively. You think that your data entry is objective, but it's subjective because it's your data entry. And Lunge refuses to admit that until he finally is forced to, and it's so good. Because you don't
go on.
you don't even blame Lunge for taking forever to admit that he could be wrong, because he's tied so much of who he is and his entire person into his
methods, his methodology, and work, because what I was going to point out is like, because another part of it I sort of felt was that like, because he's trying to look at things so objectively, he can't imagine something as, like, who would believe you if you said, yeah, there's this one dude who's responsible for all these random, seemingly unconnected murders, and, he just frames people, and, like...
And his first murders were committed when he was a child.
Yeah, and, like, he's a nihilist, so it's... Johan, I mean. So it's like, he's an existence that doesn't make sense. So someone who's like, Tenma having a split personality makes more sense than Johan actually existing. So he's leaning into what, like... He's using Occam's razor at a time when it's wrong to, because, yes, the truth is actually way more batshit insane, and like it takes him a while to realize that. But it sounds like we're about done. Like I'm not sure how much else I have to say.
Yeah, I mean,
there's one thing I want to talk about.
Oh, so I actually have one more small thing I want to point out.
Klaus, I forgot his fucking name actually. The guy who was responsible for the red mansion, for the Rose
The
Bench.
the storybook guy.
Yeah, storybook guy. The one who's like basically behind it all, right?
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
The
but
best thing was just that when they finally went to meet him, we've been hearing about him this entire time, this evil, terrible dude who ruined all these people's lives, and then you finally see him, and he's like, he's like encouraging the kid that like almost was about to shoot all these other kids. He's like
Right.
the one who's like helping him like emotionally.
we see multiple people throughout the story who
were terrible people when they were
and repented. You know, we see the guy at the
orphanage?
murdered the
Or-
orphanage.
Yes.
Fingerheim 511, yeah.
Specifically the guy who was owning his own orphanage.
Right.
I
No.
remember
Yeah.
his name.
He left, and then
and was teaching them love.
Yeah, he as a new experiment, right? Because I was thinking about that, how you have these people who were complicit in these systems that hurt people and ruined them, and then they sort of like recognized, like there was who was it who taught? It was the assassin who Nina was talking to, I think. Remember?
The
like
one
he
who
was
worked in the
like
who she worked for.
Right, like yeah, I'm trying. Yes, that was it. And like he stopped killing when he saw a target that he was going to kill drink like the same coffee he did or something like that. And like
It was a coffee that had a lot of sugar in it.
Yes, the exact same amount of sugar. That's
And
right.
he started to taste the sugar in his mouth.
He started putting that sugar in his coffee after seeing that.
Oh.
It was that he saw someone, because he even says that like it's terrible with this much sugar, but it reminds me what it is to be alive and what a human life is.
Yeah, but in general, you have these people who like they followed their orders, they were complicit in these systems, and then they realized this is fucked up, and they changed their ways.
But
so
they only realize
like,
it like after like seeing like it's like after like, you know, either going outside of it or seeing other things, or like seeing or like how other people behave and shit like that.
Yeah, and I do like how because I only just came up with this now, realized this now, but like how the manga presents like the monster aspect of it is that like you can not be a monster. Like we see Tenma, we see a man who like if he killed Johan, you know, it'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Like Johan is he's this horrible person who's caused so much like death and chaos, and specifically fucked over Tenma's life horribly. Like it's to the point where it's like it would make like just looking at it like from like, you know, not a story sense, but like an empathetic human sense. It's like, yeah, if you shot him, I'd get it. But we see, you know, through the manga we see you don't have to become that kind of monster though. You don't have to throw away your ideals. You don't have to be complicit in these systems. And then we see the other side where we see if you've been a monster, you can not be a monster, because at the end of the day, Johan, like, so, there is an extra, I think, it was on, the site I used to download manga, and Rikafag does bring it up in his video, but apparently after the series, Johan, he just starts a family, and just lives his life. And, like, which I believe how, vaguely remembering Rika's video and just, like, the series that I just read, it's how it was sort of framed as, like, because he does the rooftop game, remember?
Right.
Right. Well, the whole series is like the story for early on. From the guy who was in the submarine, and like, you know, there was are they going to be discovered or are they not? Like you mentioned, that the guy who taught Johan a lot, and Johan was really interested in that story because it's the same thing. And then it just like how he'll like, is he going to live or is he going to die? Like he sort of uses that as like, because he wants to be wanted. So, but when Tenma saves him in the end, and also getting his name, he's sort of like he's been like someone like Tenma says is like someone cares, you know. Yeah, Johan is like wanted by just like fate or God or however you want to read into it. Like, so that's another sort of, I was going somewhere with that, I think, but what was I talking about before that? Fuck.
Did you just completely lose your mind?
I did, because I had that other point, and like that's a tangent, but
I'm gonna
oh no,
that
was what I was talking about, the redemption. So even Johan, the worst monster in the series, still was able to be redeemed in the end, you know? So
right.
that's what I'm trying to say is like, you know, there's no such thing as an irredeemable, in you know, in the context of the monster, there's no such thing as an irredeemable monster as long as you try to do good, you know, at some point. At some point, you know, obviously, I mean, like, don't go back to being a monster, but anyway, go on, Vindy. I think you're gonna say something.
Yeah, here's one small thing, and this is I'm gonna hard pivot, wabam, from Craftsdwarf being all serious, talking about themes and bullshit. Did you boys notice that every time we were in the red light, and I'm not gonna complain about us having things set in the red light district a lot, because of course it's a story set in the seedy criminal underworld. Red light districts are a part of that. But this man could not set up establishing shots of the red light district without drawing multiple tits and ass in it. Every time. Every time.
Yeah.
There are tits and ass in his establishing shots for the red light.
Gotta remind people that's a seinen manga, because you can have tits and ass. Seinen manga. Woo.
Seinen.
I just think that shit's super funny.
Is that the last little thing you had to mention?
Yeah, I was thinking about all this movie. I was like, I gotta bring this up at the Weeb Club because that shit's fucking funny.
And it wasn't that hot either, you know?
That's fair.
Couldn't jack off to it.
So anyway, is that about cover it for Monster?
Yes.
All right, moving on to final thoughts. I gave it a 9. I liked it. I gave it an 8 before, reading it like a decade ago, but I liked it a lot. It's really well written. It's a good ass manga. It's interesting. Like, I might reread it and make a video in the future because I think there's still things that aren't like, because Alexander has a video or two that are good. Because he has an older one that it's older Alexander, so I'm not gonna hold. I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna hold my breath in
So
it.
Craftsdwarf hates him.
I hate Alexander. I hate him.
Alexander.
But and then I do want to rewatch Rika Fact's video because I think it's one of his better ones because he talks less about the ideology and just spends more time talking about the fucking series.
Look, if you're a better anti-tuber than someone, you can sue them. That's what I've learned today.
And make sure you live stream the court hearing.
But anyway, I think there's still more to like. It's just like we had a lot to take away from it just from like our different perspectives and stuff. So I think that's a sign of good thing being good. So anyway, Vindy.
I give it a 9. It's not on my 4x4, but it's very close.
Vindy be the man who's like, what's better than Monster? Sora no Toshimono.
I mean, that's true though. There's nothing.
I know. I just think it's funny that you got Monster, this Mal Darling, this on everyone's 3x3, this acclaimed masterpiece that might have been like I don't think it's happening or but might have gotten a live action HBO series adapting it. And you're like, but yeah, this the ecchi comedy is better.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a brain. Okay,
I mean, I think I agree. I just think it's funny that, but keep going. Sorry, finish final thoughts.
Yeah, I think that, because for me, the thing right now a manga needs to beat to make it on there is Tokyo Revengers. And I think I still like Tokyo Revengers more, but, it's super good. I love all the characters. I love Grimmer the most, but everyone's good. So, I think it's, a really, really good read. I think everyone should read it. It's a 9, for sure. It's, a hard 9. Yeah, that's where we stand on Monster.
What didn't say a word.
He's gonna give it a 2. I'm ready.
2 out of... Just kidding. It's a 8 out of 10. I think I have to... Because... I have to explain the numerical rating system because if anybody criticizes it for me, I'm going to make an entire...
Oh, no, see, it's funny because I've heard of people, shitting on, I gave Cowboy Bebop 6. What? But I've given Monster an 8 and I've at least gotten questions like, why don't you like it as much as these other Urasawa works? So go on, you gave it an 8, you must hate it.
If there are no idols, if there are no lollies, if there is no... if there's no fucking
Gay
Yonagi
girls
K,
kissing.
that too. If there's no Yonagi K, I don't want to be anywhere near it. Anyway, fucking Monster's good. It's just that I think what makes things the difference between an 8 or a 9 is I kind of have to think about if it Monster never made me cry once. I don't think.
Really?
No, not once.
Interesting.
I think it made me feel kind of emotional, but I was just kind of the entire feeling I got from it was just good.
So what? I'm gonna make a prediction because it's from the sounds of it, we're gonna read a lot more Urasawa manga over eventually.
Hello, yeah.
I think Century Boys would be his favorite, but
I was gonna say Pluto.
Okay, I don't know about Pluto.
I'm because Pluto. I need to reread 20th Century Boys, but Pluto is they're both old. I've had them both as 10 out of 10 favorites at some point at the same time even. So
okay.
But I don't know. I feel like Pluto, thinking about because again, going to what's tastes I I don't know, because 20th Century Boys like structurally is just more like Monster without the mystery, and like you made the comparison earlier. Whereas Pluto, because you guys know what Pluto is.
It used to be a planet, but now it's not considered
Shut
one.
the fuck. No, it's an adaptation of the World's Strongest Robot arc of Astro Boy.
Oh.
It's Urasawa's like take on the setting. Like Adam is one of the characters. Like, so
is he played by Zac Efron? I hope he's played by Zac Efron.
So, well, because I was gonna say so it is kind of different from some of the other stuff. Like again, compared to 20th Century Boys, which is more like Monster. So maybe he'll like you'll like Pluto more because it is different in some ways, and like really the only connection I can think of as far as like Pluto to, because like the Jesus Hitler stuff as I mentioned, like Tenma is a major character in Astro Boy, so I wouldn't be surprised if the monster like character have the same name is in some way a reference, because he likes Suzuka a lot, because he literally did an adaptation of an arc from one of his most like well-known series. So
oh yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, so yeah. But that's just a prediction. So next time, BNA though, not Pluto.
Well, yeah.
Furries.
But Pluto is that might be my next pick. Not my next. Maybe one of my next short
Pluto
picks.
Pluto is a dog character.
I mean, you saying that just makes me
Disney animation.
Because I will say that like this doesn't have my single favorite Urasawa moment. That comes from 20th Century Boys.
I'm definitely looking forward to Pluto and rereading it, because let's put it this way: like Monster Made Me Cry twice. I used Pluto, I wanted to use it in one of my videos. I honestly forget which one, just as a reference. And just flipping through it, I cried like 3 fucking times. I wasn't reading it. I was just flipping through it and remembering shit. And I was crying harder than I was with Monster, like just flipping through Pluto. So, yeah. I like Pluto a lot.
Can't wait for Craftsdwarf to cry on Weeb Club.
Well, I can't wait for I can't wait for us to record the Love Live episode, and then I start crying constantly.
I mean, that's gonna happen. It's gonna maybe in autumn when the series starts. So that's gonna be good. Anyway, we've gone on too long. Thank you for listening.
Kill yourselves. What?
Bye.
Sad.